first of all, Frank, before we start talking, do you guys have any questions? Do you have any comments or immediate questions that we can address before we get this session going?
Hey, Pieta, this is Kelly. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yes, we can. Okay. Hi, Kelly.
And you might get to this in this meeting. I just wanted to get a sense of, like in terms of the chair role, when would you advise getting like a pre-meeting with the other panelists on the books virtually before Monday, or just to kind of like think about getting things set up for order of operations? Are you going to talk through this in this meeting? And if so, I apologize for jumping in with this.
Oh, no worries. Thank you. Thank you for bringing this up. This is very informal meeting, so we can talk about what you guys want to hear. We want to show you a couple of things to make it easier for next week, but we're also, I mean, you're all experienced panel chairs, so this is kind of to make sure that we're all on the same page, but we're very open-minded and we're very open to what works best for you. We're here to support you to get the team through that task next week. Right, Frank?
Yes, absolutely. That is the number one plan, getting us all across the finish line.
Okay, good. I should clarify that while I've served on a number of panels, I haven't served as a chair before this time. So just want to make sure I put that out there. But I'm familiar with the role, and maybe a logistical question is, should we, I think this came up in one of the original calls, should we be like kind of going through, once everything is posted from everyone's submissions tonight, is it the panel chair that's kind of going through and identifying like the schedule with our small group panel for the week, like within each of those days in terms of what we're discussing day to day?
Frank, do you want to address that? We just talked about that schedule in terms of number of proposals and stuff.
Yeah, so thanks for that question, Kelly. So there are a couple of different ways to approach that, and we're thinking that the best, I won't say the best, but one approach that I think we've landed on, and we'll talk more about it, I guess, during the panel, but there's 13 proposals per panel, and the goal is to get through at least 4 panels or 4 proposals per day. And 5 in best case scenario. And so what we're hoping to do is provide you with an ordered list of which proposals you'll be reviewing, so you can just sort of walk in and hit the ground running. But it could be that for whatever reason, let's say I'm on panel 2 and I am having childcare duties or whatever, then I can't quite get my little one off to the daycare. So and I'm up first. So they say, hey, James, I'm going to be 5 minutes late. I know I'm the first panel, so skip number 1 and then go to, proposal 2, for example. So I think we'll give you that list, but we do understand that there might be some reasons that the panel chair may decide to change the order. But we'll give you that list, and then it'll be up to you, panel chair.
Okay, that helps.
Consultation with the panelists to decide if the order needs to be changed.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Thank you.
And I have a note on that because of my proposals, there was one that was fully compliant, and I'm the primary on it. So I was planning on starting with that one to kind of get things off to kind of a good, on a, hey, look, here's what, what we can expect, or, so anyways, I just thought that it would be a good start to, especially for anybody that hasn't been on a panel before, to have one where, so anyways, that's my plan is to start with one of my, and then plus like for me to kind of kick it off too. And then again, I don't know what you guys are addressing today. Are you guys, in the past, Erica has gone through like a sample one. Is there plans to do that or not? And I'm okay either way.
Yeah, we hadn't planned to do that because I think that each panelist is gonna bring their own perspective, and
Okay.
the one the one sample may be so different from
Right.
the first one that you start with. You're going to say, why don't we waste the time going through
Right.
that sample proposal? So
Okay.
I think we'll probably not go through that and just give you as much time as necessary. But Teresa, back to your earlier point. So, and there are a few different ways to do it, but I think you raise a good point in that each panelist may, for whatever reason, want a different order. So why don't we go ahead and within the first few minutes of the panel, we'll let the panel chairs either come in having already decided what the order is, or you can spend a couple of minutes socializing the idea with the panelists saying, here is the order that we're going to go in, and then that's the order that you're going to use. How does that sound, Teresa, and everyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, so each panel will decide the order, and then Tomas and I will need to sort of understand what the order is, because this is probably a natural place to discuss it. So at the end of each day or throughout the day, once you submit your final panel form, Tomas and I will sort of be looking at it just to make sure that everything is in order, because as you know, we'll have the green letters and we'll also have the red letters, but we really want to make sure that the items that each consortium has to correct, we want to make sure that it's clearly articulated in that document. So the order is important so that when you finish, I'll know when I look in James' panel folder, I'll know numbers 1, 2, and 3 have been completed today versus trying to figure out what's been done and what hasn't been done. And the same thing for Teresa and Kelly and Veronica. So yes, the order is important. And once it's been determined, you'll communicate that order number to Tomas and I and Beata. And then at the end of each day or throughout the day, I can go in and look at the ones that have been completed based on the list that you'll give us, and determine if everything is in line. And then the next day, James, you and Kelly and Veronica and Teresa will come in, and then I or Tomas will say, there is an issue with proposal X. And then James, you will decide, okay, we will either address the issue, let me use a number, there is an issue with proposal 3. So at the beginning of the next day, you'll say, I will either address the issues with proposal 3 based on the feedback that I received from Tomas and Frank, or I'll go through the list of proposals that we have for Tuesday, and then at the end of the day or later in the week, we'll come back and update proposal number 3. So I think there are a couple of different options for that as well. So you guys can kind of think through what makes most sense to you, to get the list first thing Tuesday morning about corrections that need to be made to the proposals that you reviewed on Monday, or you can do it on, Wednesday afternoon or Thursday morning, because with 4 proposals per day, that's 4, 8, 12, 4, 8. Here I am I can't do math on the spot. Here I am again. I'm having nightmares from the training again. So there's 4 proposals per day. That is by Wednesday, 12 proposals, which means that worst case scenario, you'll have 1 proposal left to review on Thursday, and then you can use the balance of that time, reviewing, hey Michelle, use the balance of that time making corrections based on the updates that Tomas and I gave you. So.
Okay, and having done this before, I have other questions, but if you guys had something to present on kind of the process, I want to let you get through that, and then I'll ask, because I have questions like, we've done the red, yellow, green before. Is it still red, yellow, green, or is it red, green? So do you have anything that you were gonna kind of present on the process?
Well, yeah, we don't have a formal process, so this was really just designed to just kind of, outline the expectations for the chair. And Beata will sort of go over the forms in and of itself, but basically each proposal has a primary reviewer and a secondary reviewer. And then those comments from each reviewers will be combined into a final, I forget what you call the form, a summary form. And that summary form contains the reviewer one's comment, the second reviewer's comment, and then there's going to be another box for the summary comments, if you will. So as you're reviewing each question on the review form, it's the job of the chair to document the final consensus for each question. So proposal one may say, this is good. Reviewer one may say, this is good. Reviewer two may say, this is not good. And so the panel chair will say, hey, we have a disagreement. So you'll talk through until you reach a consensus. And then the proposal chair will then record whatever the consensus is. And then you'll kind of move through each question just like that. And then once you get to the end of the form, there is a, do you recommend this for funding? If yes, and then you'll kind of give a summary of why it's recommended for funding. If you do not recommend it for funding, you'll give a list of sort of action items that the proposer must complete in order, and then resubmit in order to make sure that the proposal is compliant. And to your point, Teresa, the red and green letters are going to be done separately from the panel. So once you complete all 14 reviews, each form will have either recommended for funding with a summary of why, not recommended for funding with the issues that must be corrected, and then separately from the panel, those comments as to why it's been approved will then be used to create the green letter, and then the issues in the very last question that the proposal must correct will be used to create the red letter. But that will be created outside of the panel. So did that answer, Teresa?
It does. And so, you know, because like in my mind, all I can think is the red, green, yellow, because the yellow were things that weren't necessarily showstoppers. They were
Right.
more minor or typos. Right. They have to be fixed, but and then red was like budget, like nope, hard, cut off. Nope, this has to be corrected.
Right. And so we've kind of moved. So thank you for that question. So we've moved away from the red, yellow, green, and now we're with the green and red. So either it is fully compliant and approved, or it is you're missing a table of contents. So it is not compliant, so you need to redo it. So it could be major compliance issues or major non-compliant issues or minor non-compliance issues. But in either case, it's either compliant or it's not. So those are really the only two categories we're using this year, just to make it a little bit easier. So it could be something as simple as we have reviewed your proposal and have determined that you are not eligible for funding because the maximum number of pages is 10, you submitted 11, and so therefore you need to correct this and send it back.
Okay.
Which is kind of minor, but it again is not compliant.
Okay. And so, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so you're starting to bring back memories now.
Good memories or bad memories?
I won't ask which ones, right?
Well, it's been a while since we've been sequestered down there in Crystal City. So it's all, some of the fog is starting to go away now. And I'm actually seeing myself sitting in that suite doing these reviews again. But I also remember we had breakout rooms, right?
Yes.
We still plan to do that where we meet with our reviewers, and then because here's what I remember now. I remember that we had breakout rooms and we discussed things, and then we went to the big room, right? And then we put stuff up and discussed with everybody, right?
Right. So in this case, there will just be like the plenary sort of like housekeeping things, and then each person will go to their own individual rooms. they're not individual rooms, but each of the panel rooms.
Okay.
All of the reviews for your 14 proposals will be done in your breakout room with you and your panel members. And then once consensus has been reached by you and your panelists, that is it.
That's what I remember. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. And then we'll probably on Thursday come back together in the big room to thank you for your work here. If you have any questions for Beata and her team, or Tomas or I, that will be the time to address those questions there. But each panel will be responsible for reviewing their 14 proposals or 13 proposals. And once it's done, it's done. Because remember, each proposal needs 3 reviewers: primary, secondary, and then the discussion during the panel will serve as a third. So therefore, once consensus has been reached, you're all set.
Okay, so so basically what you're saying is it's all going to be breakout rooms every day until the final day.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll start in one room, and then we'll go to panel room 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we'll repeat that each day until the last day, at which point we'll come back together in the big room, just to kind of thank you and answer any questions you might have.
Gotcha. Okay.
Go ahead, Kelly. You had a question.
Thank you. So thinking logistically, I'm just imagining like the order of operations for facilitating the conversation. Will everyone in say panel 1, everyone's going to be able to see next week all 13 summary forms? I'm imagining there will be like a projector in the breakout room too to like screen share and discuss. But what does that look like logistically?
I can talk to that a little bit. Sure. So you guys are situated in hotels, and everybody else, we will all meet in Andra's suite. We'll all meet on Monday morning for plenary session at 8:30 in the morning in room CD. And then we'll split into individual panel rooms. There are 4 of them, right? Each room is equipped with big projector, and the laptop will be connected to it. So we recommend that the primary reviewer for each proposal takes charge of taking notes, keeping notes, making sure that the flow is kind of facilitated by the primary reviewer. Now, if you find that something else works for you, that's fine. But historically, that's usually the best setup.
It's good. Mm-hmm.
And in a second, I'll show you where all the documents will be stored. We will be working off in Google Drive. You will have the login information later this week. Google Drive will have every document that you will need for this review in one place. So, Frank, do you think it's a good time to take the team through the Google Drive setup?
Yeah, I think so. But so just logistically, in terms of like reviewing the proposals, is everyone clear about what the expectations are? And I'll just say it again, just to kind of remind myself. So there's 14 proposals, and each proposal will, the reviewers from each, the primary and the secondary, will be combined into one form in 2 blocks, one for reviewer 1, one for reviewer 2, and then there will be a third empty block that for each question on the review form that the panel chair will be responsible for completing. And in general, if there's consensus, it could be that you're going to copy and paste information from reviewer 1 and reviewer 2 and just paste in block 3 and move on to the next question. If there's major disagreement between reviewer 1 and reviewer 2, you will facilitate the discussion, pull the proposal up, et cetera, discuss, reach consensus, and whatever that consensus language is, the panel chair will be responsible for recording that in block 3 of that same question. And then you'll go all the way through the form. You'll reach question 78. Now that you've done all of this, do you recommend it for funding? If yes, create some language about why you recommend it for funding. If no, create some language around the specific actions that the proposer must take in order to fix the proposal. The text and the if yes, that language will be used outside of the panel for us at headquarters to create the green letters. Similarly, the items listed in the if no section, the specific action that each proposer must fix in order to correct the proposal, we at headquarters outside of the panel will take those items to create the red letter. And then again, the second point is, once that form is complete during the panel, Tomas and I will be reviewing that throughout the day. And at the end of each day, we'll look at it and say, this is good to go. Thank you, Teresa. Or we might say, everything is good except for the review form for number 3. And we'll make specific comments as to where the issues are. And then so on Tuesday morning, Teresa will get that panel form along with any others if there are any. And then Teresa will then decide, okay, guys, okay, team, we're going to tackle panel form 3 based on the information that we received from Tomas and Frank. Or we'll go through the list of proposals that we already have to review, and then we'll save the corrections to the review form until Wednesday afternoon or Thursday morning. So that's kind of like the general flow of how things will take place. So is that clear to everyone? Any questions about it? Yes, Teresa.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is, like, in the past when we've had questions, we kind of ask them real time, but what I'm hearing is that we maybe kind of write down those questions and then they're addressed during the day or at the end of the day. Okay, so let me give you a specific example. I had one where I forgot what it was, but where they were supposed to put a table, and instead of putting a table, they put a narrative. Now the narrative met the intent of the table. So for example, and then like in my own head, I noted it. I was like, okay, is this really out of compliance? I don't know. Is it significant? Do they have to? So when we have those kinds of questions, like, is this significant? Is this supposed to be a red? Did they, is it okay because they met the intent? When we come across those kind of questions, do we note them and they'll be addressed later? Or do we find somebody? Because last time we could kind of find somebody real time and ask questions.
Yeah, so all questions about the compliance of the proposal should be addressed during panel.
Okay, but do we write it down and you guys look at it later when you look at the review, or do we find somebody and ask the question, real time? That's what I'm asking.
Right. So Tomas and I will be there in the panel. We may be in different rooms, and so if you're looking for me or Tomas, we may be in rooms 2 or 4. And if you're in room 1, there may be a little bit of lag time, but the idea is that we will be able to, if you and the panel cannot come to a consensus, we'll be there to kind of answer the questions for you. But while you're reviewing the proposal, but the goal is to, once you have completed, before you move to the next proposal, ideally everything will be complete on that panel review form. All questions will have been answered. It will be considered a complete review, a complete form, and then once Tomas and I review it and say everything looks good, then it becomes a final form.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Thanks for the question, Teresa. Any other questions?
There'll be more questions if I show you where everything else is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I do have one quick one. So I haven't been back in Inspires lately, just to double check on the assignments. So as the panel chairs, is there a certain declaration or reason for proposals that we are actually reviewing and contributing reviews to? I'm sorry, it's been a while. I went in and did all the certification stuff and said, all right, I'm going to jump back in and get back going. But just in expectation.
There is really no specific or there's no additional forms that you have to clarify for as a panel chair.
Okay.
Until you get to the review. If you were able to get to the review, it means that all the certifications were finalized and you are good to go.
Yeah.
You have to complete the conflict of interests and some other things as a civil servant.
Yeah.
If you were able to see the proposals that you were assigned to as primary and secondary, you're good. That's all we need at this point.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
So, Inspires is huge, and Inspires is Inspires. So we decided to work off of Inspires for during duration of the panel, and we are moving all the documents to Google Drive, where everything will be in one place, and you will be able to see the documents that you need. So let me show you how it will look like at some point where you get access to the Google Drive designated for the solicitation. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
All right. All right. So this is just a test folder that I put together, but you as a panel chair will have access to your specific panel folder. Now, how did I get here? You will get your username and password. You will log into Google with the credentials that will be given to you, and you will be taken to this screen, Google Drive, right? It will look different than mine because I have a lot of things, but it will have the information, and now I'm lost. It will have the information that we need to do the job. So panel 2 and every other panel will have the following folders. Solicitation. Solicitation will include the document and the amendment in case you have to go back and look something up. It will have all the proposals in one place. It will have panel evaluation forms and concurrence form. So let me show you how the panel evaluation form will look like. Frank described it in details. Now, this is how it will look like when you access it in Google Drive. So the standard information, what it is, the proposal number, proposal title, PI, who the reviewers are, and we decided to keep the names of the reviewers non-anonymous, just for ease of reference. If something needs to talk about else or clarify something, it will be easy to find. So Stacy is the primary, Joseph is a secondary, and then you have a third box for question 1 where your panel comments go. Now, in this example, the panel comment is straightforward because you have 2 yeses, but sometimes you may have opposite views, and then panel needs to decide what the panel consensus is as the answer to question 1. For question 2 and so on, it will be, the structure will be the same. Primary will always be the first, and we recommend that primary reviewer is at this laptop with the big projector leading the discussion. Secondary and then panel comments. It's easy to copy and paste if you want to copy and paste some comments. If you want to add a comment, of course, we saw this comment a second ago. Now it, right? Frank, we just did that.
Right, just did it.
I know, it's there, I swear.
It really is.
And it takes you all the way to, the structure is very similar. So I think it's easy to follow. You will be able to see, everybody will have access to this document via Google Drive if they want to follow on their own laptops, but it will also be projected on a big projector for everybody to look. So that's how the evaluation form will look like.
Okay.
Do you guys have any questions about a particular document?
I dropped a question in the chat here. I just wanted to clarify again, just to make sure I'm super clear on roles. So panel chair is facilitating the agenda, getting kind of getting expectations set, and then whoever the primary reviewer is for this solicitation, maybe that's not, like, I know I have 3 that I'm primary on, but if this was not one of mine that I'm a primary on, someone else would lead the discussion, but I would still be capturing the comments. Do I have that right?
So that's what I was going to say. That's how I do it. You know, I've done this a couple of times, and I capture the notes because it has to be kind of a consensus thing, and you have to, as the panel chair, you've got to make sure people don't get too bogged down in something. So sometimes, when things are getting too bogged down, then sometimes that's when your role comes in to say, okay, so what I'm hearing is blah, blah, blah. Could we agree on X? And then, since you're the one writing the notes, then you have a little bit more control, because people can really, really get bogged down in minutia. If you've been on other panels,
yeah, definitely
you know
familiar
that.
with that. Okay, that's helpful guidance. I appreciate that.
Yes. So the panel chair is responsible for facilitating the discussion. The primary will be the lead discussant, but in all cases, the panel chair will be capturing the notes, even if he or she is the primary on one of the proposals. And that's just a summary of what Teresa just said. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you both.
All right, we won't take you through the whole form, but what Frank was referring to are important questions 78 and 79. And this is really the summary of the whole evaluation form. The leading question is, do you recommend this proposal for funding? It's a yes, no question. And then if, like in this situation, you have opposing views, right? Mm-hmm. And you have some comments that are for yes, and then we have comments that are for no. Okay. So good example of how important panel discussion and collaboration and final outcome is. But remember that we would like to capture the comments in paragraphic, like a paragraph form, no bullets, no special characters. They translate between software really not very clean. So just full sentences and paragraphs, you know that. So I'm going to close that down and show you one last document, which is the concurrence form. Concurrence form will be completed at the very last day, and that literally kind of is an agreement between all the panelists that the funding recommendation for each proposal is decided upon. So we have green and red options for funding recommendations. All the proposals will be listed right here. You will provide the funding recommendation for each of them, and then we ask that each panelist signs and dates that form. We actually decided that we'll print out this form and have your written signatures on it, and then we'll scan it and attach. We kind of like this old-fashioned kind of touch. So that should be pretty straightforward last day, but just an awareness that it will be part of the review. And that's it. So standard folders. If you feel anything else could be helpful for you, let me know and I'll drop it in the folders. In the past, where we deal with those panel evaluation forms to indicate, for example, that you guys are done with the review, you can put, maybe you can agree to something, what to rename this form to, so we know that it's ready for Frank and Thomas to review. Maybe put ready or panel. Yeah, how about if we put ready when the form is ready for Frank's and Thomas review. So you will just rename the file, add ready at the end, and we'll know that this form is ready for Frank and Thomas. And then when Frank and Thomas, when you make your comments, just put your initials at the end. That will indicate that was already reviewed by you And the form itself will have comments, will keep tracking features on. So if there is a comment by Frank or Tomas, you will see it on that form. So your job will be just to go back and address all the comments that are there, or it will say, perfect, no comments, it's done.
Okay, so I got questions. To wrap this up, our action right now is to get our review responsibilities into Inspires. And then once everybody's in, you guys will populate these forms and make them available to the chairs.
These forms will be available for everybody.
Oh, for everybody. I mean the are you gonna once the forms are populated with everything, they'll be available to everybody to see.
They will be available to everybody to see only through Google Drive. So
Through Google Drive, right? Okay.
Access information to access Google Drive. We'll try to do as many as possible by Friday, but it really depends how soon we'll get the reviews in and how soon we can compile them. So they'll be ready for Monday morning, but I can't promise they'll be ready.
And then I think I heard Frank say that that they're prepared to have a day-by-day list of proposals that we should do over those 4 days, or we to determine which 4 are we going to do each day.
We can hear you, Frank.
Frankie.
Yeah, I think sorry about that, guys. I think Teresa brought up a good point, and so I'm leaning towards letting the panel chairs decide the order that they're going to review the proposals in each day.
Okay.
And so I'll be sort of asking for you guys to let Tomas and I know what order you're going to be in.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Well, I think we covered it all.
Oh shoot!
I was able to make a meeting, right? Every time it's something, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, we get it.
Fix the webinar.
That's why we record, because we know that.
Yeah, no, I'm going back. I've been going through the recordings. Thank goodness you guys record, right? Because that's been saving me. But and it's always good to sit here and to participate. Right. It really is.
It's like Teresa has a question.
Yes. So I was gonna wait until tomorrow, but since we're doing this, are you guys gonna tell us like who has what state and whether they're primary or secondary? I was just gonna, send an email to everybody, asking them that info, but are you guys gonna give that to us?
We can. That's a really good point, Teresa. I can send everybody a little table to show who is primary, secondary, and we'll also release the remaining proposals, panel proposals. Because remember, right now you only have access to those that you are primary or secondary for. There is more for each panel to review. So we will release the access to those proposals as well. So with that notification, I'll send you a table for each panel. And then Kelly, to your point, if you want to then start a kind of off-the-book conversation with your panelists, feel free. If you want to, gain some kind of teamwork prior to beginning of the panel, this is fine. Each of you has their own individual styles, and you guys have whatever, what works for you. So we'll provide the information that you need, and we'll the rest to you.
Good luck getting my attention until we're sequestered. If you saw my calendar, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. We totally get it, James.
I'm so happy you guys blocked that off, right? I can basically say I'm not available for 4 straight days.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for
all. You guys know, Frank, I love this program, right? I try to. I hate it. I've already missed the last 2 site visits, and I hated that because I learned so much. I learned so much from these states, and I use a lot what I learn in all of my jobs that I do. So yeah, I love this stuff. So yeah, I'm happy to be a part of this.
Yeah, I'm glad you are a part of it.
Yeah.
And I have one more minor question on that one email where they said, oh, hey, here's your panel, and everybody's emails were there. There was one person with an email and they were a faculty, and so I don't know their name. So I was going to email and ask their name, but if you're going to provide the table, then maybe we can put the names on there.
Yeah. Yes, the names will be there. Absolutely.
Okay.
Addresses. It's probably a good idea to get everybody's cell phone numbers in case you need to reach them for some reason.
Yes, I was definitely gonna do that too.
Yeah, but yes, the table will have last name, first name, email address, and then their primary or secondary designation.
Perfect.
So, here's one last thing, Frank Beata. So I was just told in a previous meeting, this InSTEM contract stuff, that was to take everybody's number one priority. So if there's something else going on that you got going and we contact you and we need you to do something, we expect you to drop what you're doing and fulfill this requirement because they're preparing for the shutdown, right? A potential shutdown, right? So Tomas was on the call. So I plan on circling back with Tomas and say, hey, Tomas, I'm not sure what the real impact of that is going to be, but you and I should know that if I'm in a session during the day next week, and John Weiss or somebody calls me and say, hey, James, the contractor has some questions that we need you to answer right away. I think what they're saying is we need you to step out of that panel and answer those questions and then rejoin. So that may happen. I just wanted to let you know. I'll circle with Tomas because he was in that meeting an hour earlier. But basically what they told us attending that meeting is that there's nothing else we're doing in those STEM that's more important than facilitating the follow.
InSTEM has been eating my shorts for the last week. Same issue.
Yeah.
But one thing I want to say real quick is in the other panels that we've been in, if one panel is ahead and another panel is behind, we'll redistribute sometimes the.
Yeah, that's true. We did stuff in the past. Yeah. Yeah.
So
we did do that.
I don't know. Just throwing that out there. I know.
I've been on both sides of that. I was on a panel that was behind, right? And people took some of our stuff. And then I was on a panel one time where we were done. And then Erica walks in and says, we need you guys to review two of them.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, you're right. Good point, Teresa. Yeah.
So I don't know, just throwing that out there that,
Okay.
if your panel gets into a bind, maybe somebody else can take one or two proposals, one of the others.
Yeah.
If they're running ahead.
Yeah, I was just throwing that out. I don't know how complicated that could be when they ask us to respond right away. I'm not sure what the complexities are. I have no clue, so I just want us to be ready for it.
Yep. I mean, I'm in basically the same boat because I have an SOW that I submitted, and so the same thing could potentially happen where they're like, "Hey, we got to talk about your, we got to have a meeting with Go about your requirements or whatever."
Right.
And, same thing could potentially happen to me.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for that. So we'll just, again, I think, just reiterating what you have already said, we'll just remain flexible, and we're all here to kind of meet the same objective, and that's make sure all of the proposals are reviewed by Thursday morning.
Okay.
So whatever that looks like, we'll get it done.
Okay.
But thanks for your flexibility in advance.
Yep. No, that's what I'm here for, man.
Well, if there are no other questions and you guys feel, again, if you think of a question later on, feel free to reach out. We always share where to look for help, whether it's Space Grant inbox or Inspire's inbox. I will be sending you the table with the primary, secondary assignment, and also will be sending you credentials to log into the Google Drive. It's not ready yet, but it will be ready for the panel. So I just want to make sure that you can access it with no issues. I'll probably ask you to do it this week just to make sure you can access it safely. And if there's anything else, we'll have IT person on site to help you out. And with that, I'm really looking forward to seeing you all in DC. The weather is beautiful, ready for you all, and we'll just start fresh on Monday morning at 8:30 a.m. Continental breakfast will be served prior, so feel free to drop in a few minutes early, have some coffee, have a donut, and situate yourself for the meeting.
I can't imagine having two support people better than you two. I mean, I've worked with you, both of you two, in different venues, and whenever I've asked you questions, I get responses right away. So I'm pretty excited about how this is going to roll. Both of you guys are off the charts when it comes to.
Thank you, James. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's always good to be in a good group of people, right?
Yeah.
And we have amazing reviewers too. We have a lot of returning panelists, so I hope your job will be straightforward and easy and pleasant, and everybody will just have a good sense of accomplishment.
Yep, just want to second James's comment. You guys have been amazing through this.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Frank. You make us all look good.
I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about Beata and Michelle. I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's,
Beata helped us with deep,
they
man.
did all the hard work. I didn't do anything. I'm just being quiet.
I always got my emails response within 10 or 15 minutes. Beata was boom. Here's your answer, James. Yeah, she's incredible. Really, yeah,
I mean, even from my side and Tomas's side as well. Like, they've just been, wonderful.
Yep,
wonderful.
Thank you. Let's get through it together.
Right.
And done on Thursday morning. So have a wonderful rest of the week, and we'll see you on Monday morning.
Excited in person.
Yep.